My name is Nick Araco. I'm CEO of CFO Alliance, and I am pleased to be here today. A little bit of housekeeping. Greg Wood is here with me. Greg will be commencing our polling. Yes, we do have polling questions, and not only do we encourage you to participate because it'll be great to see how you and your peers are comparing, contrasting, and sharing insights and information with each other, but also we are providing CPE credits for today. And in order for you to earn your CPE credits, you must participate in our polling questions. In addition to Greg Wood from the CFO Alliance team, Sam Lamboui from our SVP of Member Experience and Ecosystem Strategy is monitoring and engaging with you in the chat. We encourage you to use our chat not only to connect with your fellow members, but also to pose questions. Yes, if you have a question as well, use your hand. I'm not going to raise my hand because it will raise me to the top here and we'll act like I have a question. But yes, we want this to be interactive because if you know the CFO Alliance at all, you know that our mission is not only to make connections that count, but to create an environment online and offline where you feel comfortable, safe, and most importantly, at the center of the experience, where what matters to you is brought to light. So this 55 minutes is your safe space where you can openly discuss, debate, and dissect what matters to you. However, this is not chaos, although at times within the CFO Alliance, it feels like chaos. And I'm sure at times in your seat as a finance leader, especially in 2026, it feels like chaos. But here we have a framework for discussion. Today's gathering, powered by our partners at Bill and with some support also from Oracle NetSuite, is meant to bring you together, and it is certainly timely. This session, the CFO's AI sequencing test, where, well, Greg, can you pull that for me? You got funky things going on. The CFO's AI sequencing test, where to automate, where to wait, and why it matters, certainly timely because I will tell you, everyone, there's an article coming out from CFO that a few of our members and I contributed to, really talking about what we've been talking about the first half of this year. And I want to set the stage for our discussion before I introduce my esteemed friends here with us. But I got to ask a question that I think sets the stage. Goes to the heart of who we are. This network of premier, I believe, best in class finance leaders represent all of you who gather together. You serve as at the centerpiece of your organizations. You believe in the one-on-one insights and peer-to-peer discussions that we believe in, and we hope we're really bringing you the best of proprietary business intelligence and exclusive networking. But I will tell you, I got to ask this question. What has surprised me or our team most about how maybe priorities have shifted within the last 6 months? And I will tell you, I don't think priorities have changed. I think it's just become more operationally intense and immediate than just 6 months ago. I mean, look, I think all of us would agree we're still, many of us focused on growth strategy, AI enablement, modernization roadmaps, long-term and short-term, quote, transformation. I said that bad word, initiatives. But these conversations, yeah, they still exist today. But, and in fact, urgency around AI, which is why we're here today, and operational modernization has probably even increased. I felt it as I've been in the rooms with you online and offline and in one-to-ones. But you know what? I think the tone has materially shifted, and I think that's why we're here today. What I've been hearing from you now is much less about future state vision and much more about operational controllability in real time. And I think you are demonstrating that you're focused now on whether your organizations can actually execute consistently while both the external market and the internal operating environment are changing simultaneously at this very rapid pace. So I think that's what we're going to be focused on today. And I'd love to introduce you to my friends that are going to help us take you through this discussion and what we're going to cover, what to automate now, what to leave alone, right? I'm sure you're thinking about that, all of you today. Will automation creates clarity and confusion versus confusion? Yikes. And then moving faster without losing control or alignment. I mean, I think that's been at the center of everything. That's the battle here too. Okay. All right. So there's me, right? You know me. Ranga, welcome back again, man. I feel like you and I are like in sync. You're always a few steps ahead, man. So welcome back, my friend. We're
Thank
almost
you for
in
having me.
June. Yeah. It's good to see you. You
It's
you
good to
you,
see
you
all of
look
you.
you look like you're feeling good, but am I hitting on the right tone?
I think
Yeah.
so. I'm feeling good. Like I said, there's controlled chaos. We're gonna, I think this is gonna be fun as they always are.
All right. All right. Rohini Jain, welcome. I mean, like, first of all, you're at Bill, one of our esteemed partners leading this effort, but you're also the CFO. So I feel like you have like the duality of like, oh my gosh, I sit in the seat there, but I'm also in one of these enterprises leading this effort too. So you're gonna have to lead us with what you're doing internally, but also you're also helping lead us externally too. So welcome.
So excited to be here. Thank you, Nick.
Awesome, awesome. And then I'd be remiss, we have one of our global advisory board members, Tech and Innovation Committee leaders, Brian Self, welcome as well.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, so we got a packed lineup here. That's why I call it a lineup. You know, uh, I think we should dig right into it. Theme number one, all right, what to automate now and what to leave alone. I want to go, Rohini, I'm like most excited because like I've got the veterans in Brian and Ranga who can respond, but I'm gonna like put you up to bat first, if that's cool. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's go first into like automation first. Okay. Like, right? Because I think the CFOs here would agree. One of the first things they want to dispel is the difference between like the practical difference between standard rules-based automation and an AI agent. How do you define the practical difference between standard rules-based automation and an AI agent? Because I even walk into our roundtables and I don't know where to begin, right? So, like, can we just get to a definition first before
Yeah,
we
I
do
mean,
anything?
uh, let me start by saying how there are several differences, right, as I perceive it and as I see it. But the two that rise to the top for me are the following. Number one is the ability to communicate with AI is very different than building out an automation problem, right? So it's kind of democratized access to data and things that we want to do in a very easy, accessible communication way. When you had to automate, you had to kind of write down. I started out, I don't know, I'm going to date myself, but over 20 years ago, starting to write macros and trying to build out an automation for a process several steps, like 20 years now, all I have to do is type a prompt in my own language. I think what's really changed for me as a CFO is I was on a path over the last 8 years or so. I was trying to hire people who are not just finance experts, but very technical from an analytics, data, SQL skills, ability to code, those type of people into my finance team, because the data we deal with is immense. And what we can do with the data is even bigger. So for us to be able to tap into that data, we needed all those experts within the finance teams to sort of propel us. And suddenly I find myself in a spot that, oh, do I need so much expertise, or I just need people who are able to, communicate with AI? Yes, you have to be, well versed in your function so that you're asking the right questions. You have that experience to sort of sniff out things that don't feel right and all of that. But it's really the ability to very simply communicate with AI is changing how we think about what we need within our finance functions. So that's one. The second
Yeah.
thing that's very different from an automation solution to AI is the context around it. It's, AI provides you the end-to-end answer, and sometimes as you query, you don't want to treat AI as an automation tool because then you're just wasting it. So in an automation tool, we have these, and in my experience, I have built out what we used to call at some point, right? Eye in the sky, trying to monitor a lot of metrics. Here are the reds. If something falls off the control band and such, and you highlight, and then there's so much noise in all of that. There is so much noise, and then we go after it. We build something else to go find, but it just gives you the data itself that you have to sift through and understand and do something about. Whereas now with those AI tools, you get a lot more context around it. I'm able to use those data points and say, okay, go make me a PowerPoint and make me a story for the board. And it's a good starting point, right? I mean, it's not as good that it's like a final finished product, but that's where I can come in. Instead of spending hours on my Saturdays building out those stories, I could actually now just think about it and add my thought process to it. So here are the two things, right? A is, obviously the ability to communicate. The second one is the more contextual framing of a problem and looking at it a variety of different ways and providing holistic answers and sometimes helping you ask the next question as well. And the third one I want to sneak in, though I wanted to talk about too, is the speed. I think it's unbelievable the things that the teams are doing in terms of being able to pull the trends, the data, getting answers to the questions. That's a huge differentiator.
Rohini, you made one comment. I just want to ask if you could elaborate, because I think it was to me one of the more important points you made in what you were describing. You said you still have to understand your function. Like,
Yes.
you can't just take a guy from the warehouse and put him into finance and arm him with AI, and suddenly you're now a
Not yet,
CFO.
Ranga. Not
That
yet.
is even more important than it was, I believe, because each one of us has spent 20 years, 25 years getting to where we are. And, we've just wired our brains to ask certain type of questions and learn from osmosis and being in different companies, different meetings, different conversations, growing different businesses. So there's some learning that you have that you can kind of see the world in that way and the functional experience that you build. If you don't have that, you're not asking the right questions, and that could lead you in a very different direction. It's a bigger worry than was in the past, where we had, layers of people, and there was a lot more people doing very specific things. As teams get smaller, as layers get thinner, as we are seeing more and more across different companies, having your functional expertise and not just becoming, leaderly, but having still constantly hands-on experience is really, really important. So, Ranga, I'm glad you pointed out. I just kind of rolled it in a sentence, but that's really, really important. And I worry about it, actually. I worry about it because as I talk to a bunch of consultants and bankers and others, they're like, oh, we're doing a lot of work. We're taking out the bottom few layers in our organization because we don't need them. AI does the work. And my first question is, so how do they become you? Like, how do you backfill yourself?
That's right. That's like one of the top things we're talking about. And Brian, I see you nodding your head. I mean, we talked about that in DC. It was like half the conversation.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, Rohini, I want to kind of circle back to kind of the core capabilities and competencies that are, we all feel the call and the pull to be more strategic, to get into a lot
Yes.
more than what the CFO role used to mean and define. And in tandem with this, Nick, kind of going back to your original question, one of the things about the kind of old-fashioned automation, the rules-based automation, and Rohini, so I kind of want to pose it to you, is that do you detect a trade-off? Because in kind of an internal controls environment for audit purposes, if you tested the rule, you could leverage that across the audit environment. And with an adaptive AI agent, you don't have that assurance. It's kind of one of the things where the old-fashioned ones, it would work and you could test it and you would know what the output would be because it's structured, or it just wouldn't work. But either way, you have the assurance of what it was or what it wasn't. Because of all the benefits of the agent that you mentioned, in tandem with the risk of the core knowledge being deteriorated, how do you find that trade-off in your world?
Yeah, and Brian, I think that's actually a really great question. And we think about it all the time. And this is something I talk to the teams a little bit about also constantly is we want to bring the right tool to the right problem. And the answer is not always, I'm trying to look for an analogy, but like if you want to swat a fly, you don't need a massive hammer or something, right?
Sure.
You want to, it's terrible, but I'm sure you can think of a better one.
You
But you
haven't
want to
seen
get the
those
right
flies
tool.
in Philadelphia, no.
You want to get the right tool for it. There are some problems that you need automation. You want just a very easily repeatable process. You can build automation through AI, which is faster than putting people on it, right? But you don't want an AI solution to every problem because A, it costs, it's not free, and automation can be free, and you do it once, check it, and let it go. So trying to figure out what is a problem fit for what solution is really important to think upfront and not try to use AI for everything.
And I think
Yeah,
it
and
goes
that
to sequencing,
that point.
the sequencing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes to a key question that I'm always posing. Like when somebody says to me, one of my members says, all right. Look, we've got the conversations happening in the right place and the right tone, the right framework, but what I'm trying to help my team, my colleagues, everybody, the key stakeholders really understand is I need them to understand and distinguish between a process being broken and one that is simply inefficient. Okay.
Yeah.
And, I'm a prime candidate for AI. How do you take them through that?
Can I just start by saying every inefficient process, I think of it as broken.
Okay, good.
We need to think that inefficient. I think inefficiency has to be fixed, and something that needs to be fixed is perfect.
But inefficiency isn't synonymous with low quality. Sometimes an inefficient process can give the organization or the stakeholders the confidence that they need, with whatever the task is. It could be, the culture, the stakeholder, we've been doing it this way for so long, whatever. And it's kind of one of those things where at what point in time do you prioritize? And, like you said, sometimes we need the old-fashioned agents versus the new ones. And when do you employ the old? If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, and
But,
I'm not saying that everything that's
yeah.
broken needs to be fixed at the same time and immediately.
Right.
All I'm saying is recognizing that it's inefficient. And I grew up in GE, and it was a big cultural thing that was taught to us is every year what you do has to be different from the previous year, and you have to keep improving it, continuous improvement cycle, right? So I kind of grew up with it and it's part of who I am. So what we fix when should be staged on relative importance, ROI, all of that stuff. But going back to like, if something is giving you consistently right answer, even if inefficiently, it's not broken, to be fair. Right?
Yeah.
So it is consistent and it's correct.
Yeah. So give us the best use cases. Like how do you let's workflows to target first. Give us a way to approach it.
So
right?
Yeah, I think there's and I will give you examples from my day today and yesterday on how we are using it at Bill for our internal data, not yet the product that we're building for the customers, but the way we are I'm using it is I have a bunch of different products, and as I start to look at my weekly trends, I periodically used to have these questions, how are you seeing the spend by industry on this card panning out? I would send that question to my team. In Draper, they would spend a day or so. I would wait for a day and a half to pull it. And now one of my direct reports is like literally outside my office. I walk up to him and I'm like, okay, can you see if AI can help us answer this question? And I had the answer in less than 15 minutes because now those tools are plugged into the data systems that we have, and we don't need a human to be running all those reports. Now, I will also give you an example of this morning. I tried to ask myself to the AI certain questions around, what's driving my revenue growth, how much of it is take rate versus how much of it is volume. And I got an incorrect answer. So I think we are all in a... Sorry?
No surprise, right?
Yeah, and I know the answer already. This is where, Ranga, the expertise and your skills they come in. I looked at the number and I'm like, yeah, this doesn't look right. I sent it to somebody. They fixed it in 15 minutes and they were pulling interchange instead of revenue or whatever it was. But I think you have to use it very, very thoughtfully. But it can really, and the way I think about sequence and what to use it for first is the things that help you, like there is a lot of decisions we take that can be good 80-20. Now, if you're expert in the field, you see the data, it might not be 100% correct, but it's 80%, 90% there. It helps you guide down the path. It's the internal business decision making. You could do that. Now, then I have external reporting that I have to, file with the SEC, talk to the investors about, quote some numbers. Absolutely has to be airtight, and there have to be process over process for checking. The thing that's really rapidly evolving is the amount of time that we used to spend just pulling the data, understanding it, getting the files together, reading the outcomes of that can be really crunched into very short period of time. But then it gives us thinking time to absorb it and understand it and do the what next, and hence play a bigger part in the strategic conversations and where do we go next. It just gives us a lot of time back for those type of things.
So how do you pressure test these workflows, right? I mean, like when you talk about the, like there's always this question of, am I doing this right? It's in a vacuum, right? And I understand, there's a leap of faith and there's a bravery to this as well. Okay. And look, we're a brave crew here at the CFO Alliance, and I think we're getting braver by the day. And what I love about this community today, very different than the community when we started. We're pretty bold, and we're like, if it doesn't work, then I accept it. And what's the worst that can happen? That was not the attitude of the CFO predecessor generation. Okay, but there still needs to be an ability to pressure test. So walk us through a bit of a framework here so that at least our members can walk away and say, if I don't have one, I can at least try to adopt one.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the problem statement itself, and every situation has a different answer. So I will take this a little bit in context with the bill and the products we're building for our customers here.
Yes.
Where we started out really with the use cases where we know that the amount of work that gets taken out from the customer's side is far more than the amount of work it will take for them to check the things, right? So giving you an example, no-brainer things like all of us love to travel, we do business travel, we swipe our cards, there's 100 receipts that we have to now code into our systems, whichever we use, to say, oh, this is the receipt for my so-and-so travel, or I had a Starbucks here, or whatever else. Hate doing that, right? So we built an agent that automatically codes, right? Like literally I swipe the card, I get a pop-up and say, okay, this has been filed in the right folder. You just need to click yes and hit the button. So again, the customer in the loop, they are going to say yes or no, but all the work has been done. So there are so many no-brainer things that can simplify the lives of our customers, and as a finance person, my life, all the things that I don't want to do. So that's really important. The second part of things is where you need to build in for all the important things, especially when you're dealing with data, the checks and balances. Like, what are the systems? You have to think upfront. If I'm going to use AI for this, here are the guardrails and checks that I want to put in place on how do I, just quickly double check. I'll probably do it for 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and it works perfectly. I'm okay not doing it, or I built it into my process already that it gets done in an automatic way. But we have to think much more about what are we going to check now than we ever did before. I think that's the second part of it. And then there's a third part where here are the 5 things that I will only expose to AI related work when I'm ready, when the first 2 are done and I feel really confident, and I'm going to just protect them from, using AI brash.
Yeah. Brian, does that sync with you? I mean, look, I typecast you as being one of our most conservative in terms of the risk and governance side. And that is a
Oh,
compliment, Brian. That's not a criticism, but it's one of the reasons why I wanted you here today. So does that sync with you?
it does. And to kind of fork the question of pressure testing, and I think what Rohini's answer was fantastic for him. I think it really works really well in how do you pressure test um, your sequencing? How do you pressure test what you are aiming to do? And I think that what she articulated was you start with what do you stand to gain? And in this case, she really laid it out from the customer's perspective. The gain, the potential gain was so in excess of the risk. So it really kind of helps you assess where in your sequencing stack to tackle a project because the potential gain could be so good that it really kind of makes the risk appetite puts it in its appropriate framework. Now, to lean into the conservative accusation, we have
It's not, that was a
absolutely
Compliment.
we have absolutely we've experienced it. We were an early adopter, so we're in the GovCon space. We were an early adopter
Yes.
of a bid and proposal writing the management software, and it ended up being a sunk cost. And the sunk cost of the actual, resource really wasn't it. It was more of a sunk cost across the board in the resource it took to try to get it to work for us. And then what I'll call the kind of the trust overhead, and that is organizational specific. But once you have, you kind of have whatever your initial trust overhead is, with your stakeholders and with your culture. And then if you have some unsuccesses, that's gonna grow. It's gonna deteriorate the appetite to get into it depending on your particular cocktail of stakeholders and corporate.
Yeah,
Um,
you killed any sense of momentum right there. What you did, I mean, right? I mean, yeah, you're right. Okay. So, all right. So we're gonna share this, by the way. At least it gives you an idea of a framework. 4R, right? I love it. I'm a big, right, like and keep it simple here. We'll call this the 4R framework, right? All right. And is it named after you, Rohini? Is that what we're gonna call it? The Rohini, the 4R framework.
Absolutely not.
All right, let's go to poll question one because we're going to be shifting here a bit. On a scale, everyone, all right, get ready. Yeah, you got to ask for a poll question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you trust AI generated financial insights today without a full manual audit? Okay. 0, little, moderate, high, full, or complete. Okay, now the last one, seriously? Okay, Greg, I want to count down. And I love that you made the I for AI a lowercase I. Was that on purpose, Greg, in the question? Artificial being a capital A and intelligence being lowercase? Did you do that on purpose? For a little humor? Countdown for us, Greg? You getting the votes?
I just didn't want us to vote on Al, the CFO, so that's why I did the lowercase.
Okay.
All
I
right.
was just checking. I was just checking.
You are a CFO with the name Al. You're really
All right. All right. Let me get a little reaction here. We've got little trust to moderate trust. Moderate is 3 out of 5 here. Okay. Action here. So I bet you, what do you think if we would have done this 6 months ago, Ranga, what do you think we would have seen?
zero trust.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Rohini, agree? 0? Would have seen.
Close to, I would say. And one of the things I want to comment on, like, when you see it not working, there is a reason why it doesn't work, rather than walk away and say, well, this doesn't work for me, it's broken. I think there's an
Yeah.
opportunity to make it better and more
I,
effective.
Yeah.
I will say, Nick, one thing I think that is there's no like you couldn't caveat your answer in this to say, oh, it's moderate trust because of or a high trust because of. 6 months ago, maybe it's been a little bit longer than 6 months, but like in the last 6 months, you've really seen a much higher, like we've introduced our MCP Connect, like being able to connect a trusted source of data to the
There you
AI.
go.
And that's something that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Connectors and the security that's been built around enterprises and companies now to protect their own data from going into this black box of AI. Yes.
100%.
What a difference. What a difference, right? There's a much greater level of controlled environment, visibility, less smoke, and ability to say, okay, now this is where I can apply my human judgment and spot as well, right?
And even asking the question, where did you get that from? Like you can
prove,
show your work. As I say to my son, my 12-year-old, in math, you got to show your work. Sorry, bud.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's interesting, though. I wish we would have asked this question 6 months ago, and then ask it now, and then we're going to ask it again in a few months too, and see where it is. Okay. All right. I got a back-to-back poll question, don't I, Greg?
You do, but before we go there, the chat has a lot on security around trust, but also the fact that there are people that don't trust, but yet they haven't found any mistakes yet, so they're not ready to go to blindly trusting yet.
Well,
long way to go for
that. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I don't think I agree with you. Okay. All right, poll 2. Here we go. Which finance outcome matters most when evaluating automation?
Nope. We got the wrong poll that's showing up though.
Yeah, Greg, that's not the right poll. That's poll 3, Greg. Can you fix that, please?
I can.
Okay, there we go. Oh, now you just lost it, Greg. Can you bring it back? There we go. Which finance outcome matters most when evaluating automation? Which outcome are you seeking, right? Which most important? Efficiency, accuracy, visibility, decision. And as Jerry said, Greg, we need to AI these polls. All right, you got to pick one here. Single choice, priority here. Finance outcome matters most. Because then I'm going to have to take a step back question I want to pose to all three of you around how you evaluate the automation readiness of a finance tech stack before layering in any AI tools. Because I really we got to be ready for this before we even, right? Goes back to that capabilities, that what am I looking at right now before I start looking ahead? All right. Accuracy, 2 out of 3. Efficiency, efficiency is probably the most closest to the remaining third.
Yep.
Accuracy and efficiency. Okay, so then let me pose this question then. How are you evaluating the automation readiness of your finance team's tech stack before layering on and any kind of tool, especially, an AI tool or a tool of any sort? What's going into that equation?
I could start. I think somebody mentioned, Ranga, I think you mentioned the ability to build connectors with AI tools into trusted data sources is game changing. So you don't need to literally recreate data lakes and stuff. You can actually have connectors to your things like, Workday, maybe if you're using that, your ERP systems and other, subledgers. You can actually have those connectors that feed into your AI tools, which is great. The thing that I'm working a lot on is the governance of how do you, especially on the analytics side and the data side, how do we create, some sort of AI really democratizes the access to data. So having governance around that data, making sure all the definitions that are in there in your data table are vetted and what the rest of the company can get access to is something that we in finance can stand behind and approve. It's really important. So starting to create, create data tables for the analytics data that is not inside those trusted systems is really important before we give access to people to just do whatever they want with data. Because before you know it, there'll be 10 definitions and 10 answers for the same thing, and people are marching in different directions. So it needs a bunch of upfront work. And there is the balance of giving people access to tools so they can understand what it means, and simultaneously building out that infrastructure to be most effective and understanding what you need next and next and next. So again, it's a step-by-step journey. And I think the idea of leapfrogging everything to going to all AI type environment is, it could be dangerous.
Ryan, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, and especially Rohini, what you initially said, the trust with the connectors is kind of shifting the culture and the appetite for more people to adopt it. Like you said, I mean, and we've had also on the client-facing side for the government, have we built some of these custom data, and it was data lakes and things like that. So it's much more coding Python and things like that. But the connectors makes it not just practical but suggestive in that trust factor. So I think more and more people will be open-minded to doing it. So I completely agree with that. So
Within your organizations, talk to me a bit about current state and evolution around tool approval fit. What's the journey been like? What's it like right now versus what it was like? I mean, just give me a few words on it. What's that process look like? Who's been involved, and what's it like today versus what it was? Any comments?
I could go ahead. I think the process of giving access to people we have been very, 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 these security teams have been all over testing it. It's been a very measured rollout with X number of people, then Y number of people. And what I'm all over right now is the cost of the tokens. It could blow up in your face, and you have to really create upfront budget management of who can use what, assess that on a weekly, monthly basis, because the appetite is huge and
know.
the
That's why I was
ROI could
asking.
be limited. Yes. So we constantly see people. So we have not given, and I think that's how most people are doing it. Most companies are doing it, is having budgets assigned to teams and each person. And you have to use it thoughtfully. It's a scarce resource. And when you're done, you're done. You have exceptional approvals. It's literally like how we prioritize headcount to go after the key priorities. You have to put the controls up front and not just let it go.
So one of the most frequent questions I'm getting asked from a CFO Alliance member who cannot attend one of our roundtables thus far in Q2, but asked me after the fact, okay, one of the reasons why I wanted to join the roundtable, but I couldn't attend, but I want to pose this question, and I wonder if any of them are on here today, is what finance processes look tempting to automate, but often yield the lowest ROI? Okay. So what in your experience or have those been?
So I can go for that. So one of the things that I think was probably kind of low-hanging fruit because it was easy with some of our contract compliance reporting. But we just happen to be also at the same time in an environment where the federal acquisition regulations being overhauled in tandem with the government, in their cybersecurity maturity models and everything else. And so I think it was low-hanging fruit and easy to be done in order for us to kind of take perhaps for us baby steps to do it. But the implications of that report, as simple as it was, were just too important to do on that front. So there wasn't enough benefit to offset the risk in that changing environment.
Okay. Rohini, thoughts?
External reporting for me is the one that stands out. I think it's once a quarter requirement, and it's if automated well, it's kind of looking at history, doesn't need a lot of generative thinking, context, etc. It's just, automation is good enough for that. I would never, yeah. That's probably the last place I will go to.
Excellent. I love that. Okay, cool. All right. And one more I have there. Okay, one of the other questions I get is, I wish I had involved my team more. What are, and when it comes to automation projects, like, okay, so then we're bold enough, I'm going to undertake it. I'm going to take the hit if it doesn't go well. I'd rather shield my team. After the fact, the team kind of says, why didn't you include me? And the CFO says, I should have included my team. I'm going to Monday morning quarterback. What are some questions a finance leader should be asking their team before approving a new automation project? You've got all this talent around you. Let's assume you've got some great talent on that team. If you're going to Monday morning quarterback it, what would you be asking your team before undertaking or approving a new automation project? Any thoughts there?
Again, very complex. Sorry, you go ahead, Brian.
No, I know, honestly, it's one of those things where I think going back on this question, I mean, we're small, so we have kind of deferred to what our kind of our comfort levels are in certain areas, in knowing that we can monitor the process, easily or comfortably. But I really like kind of what is it that you have to gain, kind of really, putting that on the forefront as far as what is there to gain and why this process.
Yeah, and I was just going to break up that what is there to gain into what is the frequency of a task that you do, how much time or effort goes into it, and how critical it is in terms of risk, accuracy, and things like that. You kind of run it through a framework like that. I do think you have to involve the critical people on the team. Otherwise, it's not only ideation, but also implementation gets really hard. But secondly, I would suggest that we bring in people who are not married to the process as it is today. So having a fresh pair of eyes, so a combination of a team that is outside in and inside in is really important to challenge status quo, but understand status quo at the same time.
Yeah. Love that. All right. Now let's move to the confusion hits, where automation creates clarity versus confusion. I think I've got a polling question here, number 3 now, right? What is the primary factor holding your team back from full automation? Everybody here got to pick one of these. Data quality, budget, security concerns, or team skill gaps? There is no other, so you got to pick one of these. Greg removed other. All right. Calm down, Greg. I'm getting votes here. Ooh, all right. We're kind of all over the board here. All right, we want to start with the most. Keep this up, Greg, okay? Don't make this disappear. Let's start with the team skill gap ones, all right? Let's see. Where do we go first with this? So first of all, you got all 4 we need to address here. Can you share an example? One of you share an example of how automation may surface an insight that would have been impossible for a human team to find manually. There's your human skill gap.
Nick, I would say that it's not as much about what humans could not have done, but what humans would need in terms of time to get to that.
Okay.
I'd be very hard pressed to think about, given enough time, I think humans can come up with an answer to most things, unless the amount of data that you're dealing with
More
is going
time
to
to
vary.
increase
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's
So that would have
it's
been a time one instead of a team skill gap.
I think the team skill gap here
Yeah.
refers to the fact that you can't just have an AI tool and
Yeah.
and just start using it extensively.
Yeah.
There is a
Okay. That
learning
makes sense.
process and how to use it effectively, how to build the guardrails around what you're seeing, how to sort of test the output and double check and things like that. So I think I have several people on my team who were the initial users of AI tools, but the speed at which they ramped is vastly different. So it really depends on who the person is and how quickly they're able to self-learn.
Got it. Got it. Well, wait. Where'd that go? Okay. I wanted to keep that up because I want to go in order, but I guess there's no order. Okay. So what can you do to put specific guardrails in place to ensure that the automation doesn't lead to, let's call it, footloose, fragmented data being shared everywhere? There's your security concerns.
Yeah, I think what you said is really a combination of data quality and security concern, right?
Yeah, so let's combine the two.
Data quality to me is you have to build out your single source of truths for certain things and trusted sources of data where you know for sure that you can, either humans pull it or AI pulls it. The source of data needs to be trusted, and AI should not be plugged into things that are messy and which have, we have several examples within every company where you have humans who know how to patch things up in a very creative way to get to that right answer. But because of evolving data, the answer is different every time. So I think getting the single source of truth, having a set of governed data put out there and kind of connected into your AI tools is really important. And one of the functions that we as data and analytics leaders have to play within the company before everybody goes from a security perspective, that is an IT function where there are now enough tools to help protect your data from going out into the ether and being used the way it should not be. So I'm more concerned about the data quality and sending people in all kinds of different directions. I let my IT team worry about the security.
Ryan?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. When it comes to the authorization to post against your ERP system, obviously having versioning and audit trails, all those things, kind of cascade off of what Rohini said. So absolutely.
So do you have any signs that you've spotted where it's obvious that the finance team has lost clarity and is just managing the machines, we'll call it? Has there been any moment where you've spotted that? You're smiling, Rohini.
Nowhere close to that, Nick. I mean, we're nowhere close to that. Yeah.
I mean, the obvious one is when they say, well, the system said, or, right? But is there any other sign that we should be looking for? Anything obvious? Not obvious?
I mean, I think
Any
as long
quick
as you're,
tips?
yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the culture, but I mean, it's as long as you are leveraging not only the ability to computate so much more data faster to more fine-tuning the sophistication, adding on to what you may have only been able to do before and just kind of fine-tuning. Rohini, I'd be curious, from your perspective, with the volume of data that Bill has and market exposure, have you had the opportunity to increase the correlations? Something that goes maybe from, more market intel or economic intel all the way down to triggering a capital asset buy because of the credit card volume or something like that. Have you been able to achieve a lot more interesting correlations? I'd be curious for.
Not yet. I think where we're at is walking on that path, eventually hoping to get there in some cases, and again, not in all others, but our ability to now react to a certain trend is faster because I can see those trends faster. I can figure out, okay, if, I'm seeing this in the business, next week I want to run a promo for this to see how the market reacts. So it's our ability to react to large pieces of information and segment them in the right ways and get the deeper insights is getting better by the day. So I think we're just there. Making the whole journey, as you said, is, I think, a little bit further out.
All right, let's go to number 4 and 5, which goes to moving faster, builds on this without losing control or alignment. Which area for each of you feels most ready for automation today? AP workflows, reporting, forecasting, approvals, and controls. Got to pick one. Single choice here.
So mean.
All right. Pick one here, everybody. Okay. Let me count down here, Greg. You got to answer here. Looks like AP workflows and reporting dominate this. Any surprise here, guys? No?
Not at all.
Well, I guess my question there is, what does a modern AI sequencing framework look like for a CFO who needs to show results to a board or to a stakeholder and investor every quarter, right? They want to see a sequencing of this, right? It can't just be, look, we stood this up, right? So let's say they chose one of those two, AP workflows or reporting. Give me an idea of what it would look like then. Give me some type of framework for it.
Well, I mean, you'd have to define results, obviously, but it's one of those things where, when it comes to the board, the timeliness and the sophistication of the reporting would be the result, perhaps, of really getting into cutting down on the time and/or improving what you can analyze as a result of cutting down on AP workflows. I mean, everything cascades off the transactional data. So if it takes a long time to book and classify and reconcile and do all the transactional data, everything comes after that. So if you can
So you got
improve
1
that
to 3 months
process,
to draft the use case, right? And then you got to spend the next, 9 months really, really inside the existing tools? I mean, or really, it's a significant investment before anything, the analysis can be done, correct? I mean, we're not talking a short timeline, right? You can't skip the horizons, is what you're saying.
right? Well, I guess what I'm saying is that when it comes to the stacking, the sequencing, like I said, I mean,
Yeah.
the benefit for value to the stakeholders is kind of on the output side, but you have to enable that, and so you got to cut down on ideally the front end of the transactions because that cascades after. So I'm not sure if I
Okay.
answered the question, but it's one of
No,
those things
no.
where I think it
Let's
has one comes first. Yep. Yeah.
so let's project out, all right, with poll 5. Do you believe the autonomous finance department is a reality within? Or when? When? This is a when question. If you believe it, when is it going to happen? Less than 2 years, between 2 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 years plus. Here's our crystal ball question. All right, everybody take a vote here because this is our 5th and final one here. Because then I have a question for you about, while they're doing this, I want to ask each of you this question. What new skills should CFOs be hiring for today to ensure they have really what they need in place necessary for this AI-driven future? And I want to start with Brian and Rohini from the in seat looking out, and then Ranga, I want your broader perspective. So Brian, and then Rohini, and then Ranga. Okay. But everybody take a chance here to answer this. Go ahead, Brian.
Sure. I mean, if we're saying new skills, I would encourage Python. And it's one of the things where I think that part of the benefit is in an encouraging standpoint that the barrier of entrance to Python has been lowered so much because of AI. So the ability to to kind of dial in on the custom work. Now, but that's new skills, and I would say that the sensitivity is that we can't drift away from the old skills. We need the old ones as well, and that's kind of what we've been echoing as well in this conversation.
Okay. Rohini.
I would say one hard skill, one soft skill, and hard skill, I would say just coming back to the finance expertise, really knowing your accounting, knowing your
Thank
finance,
you.
knowing, being that
Love that.
subject matter expert that can help AI perform better and
I
use
agree with you.
the second is a soft skill, and that is just being open to learning new things. And
Yeah.
huge mental agility
Yes.
is what we need today to make that finance person adopt everything that is being thrown at us with the velocity. I mean, look at where we have the speed of change is only accelerating super rapidly. And I
Agreed.
cannot imagine, I mean, there is a framework of 10 plus years. I cannot fathom what that looks like, right? We are thinking incrementally in weeks and months right now. So I would say those two, your subject matter expertise with the openness to learning.
I love it. I love it. Ranga.
I'm gonna lean on something I've been talking a lot about lately: storytelling and collaboration. I think that has become so critical, especially now, and that ability for a CFO to be able to work with their counterparts, the finance folks, to lead and be that business partner, and how you tell those stories. AI can help you, but you still have to understand it. You have to be able to defend it. You have to be up there and own it. And I think that's going to be something that it takes work. It's not something you just pick up overnight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love the combination of all three. I also love Barry just said, until we let AI into our heads, it's not going to replace us as CFOs. I agree with you. I agree. I do be remiss if I didn't ask each of you this question. I always ask Rohini, Brian, Ranga, best way for our members here today connect with you to pick your brains further, because in 54 minutes we didn't get everything out of you that I'm sure everyone wanted. What's the best way for people to connect with each of you? Rohini, you first.
LinkedIn is a good way to connect, but I would say I do get a lot of incoming LinkedIn. So to differentiate yourself, I like people to be to the point. If there's a topic they want to discuss or have a question, just be more specific versus a very generic outreach.
Love it. Love it. Brian, best way.
I'm going to be biased towards the group here. The best way is to reach out via the CFO Alliance portal. I got my phone number and email in there, but you can message me direct, and I use that ecosystem.
Love it. Love it. Ranga.
I'm all over LinkedIn these days. It's a great place to reach out to me, and just happy to always continue the conversation.
Yeah, and show up in one of those caps and he will definitely connect with you because that is his signature. We love it. So, okay. But best way to learn more and best way to learn about our partners at Bill and at Oracle NetSuite and your peers like Brian is in this community. We are continuing our Q2 roundtable series. We will be in California next week, in Chicago, in Nashville the following week, and then we will be in Tampa for our annual conference, the CFO Alliance Experience with IMA, June 15th to 17th. Then we have maybe a short break and we'll start our Q3 roundtables again and our decision dinners. And obviously we are now with help from Don Voss, our operating partner I see here on screen, Sam and our other team leaders here. We're launching our peer cohorts. Our groups and obviously our one-to-ones will continue. So we call them our on-demand council. We're here for you. Be selfish, we say. Anything you need in terms of connections. Look, we're just scratching the surface. Our CFO Commons and our Tech and Innovation Council are really standing up some must-haves within this community to help guide you through, at some point, some level of autonomous finance, and maybe not complete. And that's what this is all about, being here for you for what you need. I hope you found value garnered through the insights of Rohini, Brian, and Ranga. I'm here just to be a guide as well. And most importantly, if you didn't get something you need, reach out and we will make sure you get that. Once again, I thank our partners at Bill. I thank our partners at Oracle NetSuite. I thank Greg and Sam and Don for being here as well to help guide us. And I thank all of you for your time, energy, and effort for making this extra special session extra special. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you one-to-one in person and online in the days ahead. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much. All right.